Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears offense went blow for blow with the San Francisco 49ers, but it was the Bears defense that couldn't give them one more stop when they needed it most.
You are Locked On Bears, your daily Chicago Bears podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
This is Locked On Bears, and I'm your host, Lauren Cox. I'm here to bring you your daily, in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. Thanks for making Locked On Bears your first listen today. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And on the show today, we're going to recap this Bears loss to the San Francisco 49ers, including, well, a lot of struggles on defense. Not a lot of positives there, but we'll find a couple within that mix, but plenty of blame to go around with what was going wrong on that side of the ball. We'll also talk about a really encouraging performance from Caleb Williams and the Bears offense, more than doing their part to keep Chicago right in this game. And I'm also left feeling a pretty bright future given who the stars and standouts were from this game on Chicago's side. This is a long-term, really good feeling, even with a short-term not so good feeling on Sunday Night Football. But the story of this game to me was about this Chicago Bears defense. The offense did its job. You score 38 points, or even if you give 7 of those to the defense, 31 points from your offense is absolutely a winning performance with anything close to an average defense on the other end. And on the other side, anytime a defense gives up 42 points, that's almost always a losing quality performance there. Now, that, I guess, was not the case earlier this season against the Cincinnati Bengals when they won 47-42, but that's the Cincinnati Bengals, a 5-win football team. This is a playoff team that is in contention for the #1 overall seed and a first-round bye in the NFC North. And you cannot give up 42 points to a potentially the best team in the NFC and expect to win games or expect your offense to be able to keep up for 4 full quarters. This was more about a defensive failure than Caleb Williams and the offense couldn't score on the very final drive of the game, but they scored on almost every other drive of this game. Certainly, once the second half was rolling, they were cooking and generally speaking could not be stopped. The problem is the Bears couldn't stop the 49ers either. 6 touchdowns for San Francisco, 2 punts all game. Now, that's impressive in some part because the 49ers hadn't punted since November, but the Bears needed more stops than what they got in this game. And it was a pretty, I don't want to say abysmal, but abysmal defensive performance all around. We knew coming into this game, the ongoing storyline of the season, the Bears pass rush is bad. The Bears have not been able to consistently pressure opposing quarterbacks, and we've seen good quarterbacks be able to sit in a clean pocket and slice and dice this Bears defense. That part we kind of knew, but then these 49ers receivers were just wide open, way too wide open, way too easy for Brock Purdy to just sit back there. It didn't feel like Dennis Allen was blitzing him a ton, and even when they did, they weren't getting a ton of pressure, and it didn't seem to matter either what kind of coverage the Bears were running on the back end. It seemed like earlier in the game, I was noticing, again, just having watched it live, I haven't had a chance to go back to the tape, but it felt like to me earlier in the game, we were seeing a lot of man-to-man coverage, and 49ers receivers were getting open as the game went on. Again, anecdotally, it felt like they went back to more zone coverage, and I can think about one of the touchdowns. I don't know if it was the last touchdown. I think it was the last touchdown to Jawan Jennings. It was a deep in-cutting route where the Bears are in cover 2 zone, right? Take away the deep stuff, make them throw it short. And what do? They still throw the deep in-cutting route. A really bad break by Jaquan Brisker, who isn't able to catch up to it. Kevin Byard takes a bad angle. A blocker comes in, and a 38 touchdown gives the 49ers the late lead that ultimately proved to be the lead that you needed. And so it just kind of felt like Dennis Allen couldn't come up with any answers here. And I don't want to put 100% of the blame on his shoulders because some of this stuff is just a real talent deficiency. We know the pass rush is bad. They haven't been able to get after the quarterback with 4 all season. And Dennis Allen can't just make those 4 guys rush the quarterback better. He can't make Nahshon Wright cover receivers better. He got burned on a double move. He couldn't get Christian McCaffrey out of bounds. It was a bad game from Nahshon Wright. Even worse game from Tremaine Edmonds, third highest paid linebacker in the NFL on a per year basis. And he's getting smoked. Tight end Jake Tongest, who is a former Bears undrafted free agent, catching passes up and down the field, the middle of the field with him, out of position on multiple touchdowns, where wide open receiver in the back corner of the end zone, wide open running back in the front corner of the end zone. Tremaine Edmonds was responsible for those players, not in the right spot, not making plays in the running game. Horrible Tremaine Edmonds performance. He absolutely needs to be a salary cap casualty this offseason. He's had a bad season as a whole. Don't let the 4 interceptions fool you. This is not just like one bad game from Tremaine Edmonds. It's been a consistent inconsistency, a consistent not good enough from one of the highest paid players at his position. But then, it certainly was not just him. It was not just Nahshon Wright. I mentioned both safeties, not particularly strong games there. Seemed like a lot of missed tackles across the board. And then, even when the Bears did blitz and get after the quarterback, no one was getting free or getting home or really getting Brock Purdy all that uncomfortable. I give Austin Booker credit for pressuring Purdy a couple of times. Now, he's going up against a backup left tackle. And I think if Trent Williams had been healthy the entire game, we don't hear Austin Booker's name much, and we don't see Purdy moved off of his spot much at all there. But Booker did a good job getting around him a few times. Of course, missed Purdy a couple times and let him scramble for big plays. And Austin Booker got called for defensive offsides at one point. A couple of nice pass breakups, so batted passes. I think overall, plenty to like there from Austin Booker, but also plenty to be left to desired there. Pretty much non-existent Montez Sweat. He made a couple plays in the running game for sure, but none of those big-time pass rushing moments. Nothing from Grady Jarrett. Nothing from Gervon Dexter except a penalty in a big moment that negated the drop pass. Not much from Andrew Billings in there. Just nothing. A whole lot of nothing up front and pretty well across the board from your defense. And, I'm willing to chalk some of that up to, hey, 49ers offense is good. Kyle Shanahan's a really good coach. Good offensive play caller, and Brock Purdy's dialed in right now. He's playing some good football. I'm willing to allow some of this to be hey, again, the 49ers might be the number 1 seed in the NFC. They're a playoff team. They might win their division. Good teams are going to do a lot to you. They put up 48 on the Colts last week. They score points and move the ball well. But some of this is just bad Bears defense. It felt like the effort wasn't always great. The tackling was not phenomenal. Guys not necessarily fighting super hard. It's not to say they rolled over and quit, but it's just man, they did not have the juice or the energy out there. And maybe some of that's this illness that's been going around the team, traveling to the West Coast, Sunday Night Football game. But I don't want to make excuses. It's just bad defense, and you can't have that. And you can say, okay, well, the 49ers were dominating time of possession in the first half, and so the defense was gassed. And I'm sure that was a factor, but it was 21-28 at halftime, and then the 49ers went on to score, 2 more touchdowns in the second half. It wasn't as though them being tired explained absolutely everything. I can give you a couple of moments here and there where they're just gassed because the 49ers were controlling the clock, but the flow of the game was very different in the second half, and the defensive performance did not improve over that span. I shouldn't have gone this long without mentioning TJ Edwards' pick 6. Good game from him. Jalen Johnson obviously jumps that route. First play of the game for the defense, the absolute best they were. Everything else was downhill from there. I thought Jalen Johnson didn't get targeted all that much, but then he came out of the game and Stevenson was going in with him and rotating, so I don't know how healthy he's been. If I had to find good players in defense, I thought Edwards was fine. The cornerbacks not named Nahshon Wright were fine. CJ Gardner-Johnson was all right. Johnson was fine. Stevenson was fine. And then Booker had his moments there. Everybody else, average to below average to terrible games on defense, and that's why you lost. From there, you can say, okay, well, do you wish Caleb Williams would have been able to score on the final play of the game? Of course, but the offense did more than enough, and there was plenty to like from that group, and there's not a lot you can complain about from this Chicago Bears offense. So we'll look at a really strong game from Caleb Williams, obviously a huge Luther Burden game, and kind of figure out where that leaves this team heading into the final game of the regular season. Next on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is brought to you by PrizePicks. Whether you're starting a new routine or jumping into player projections for the first time, trying something new can feel like a challenge. But with PrizePicks, it always feels good to be right. With high-pressure football matchups every weekend and elite hoops action almost every night, the sports action never slows down, and PrizePicks lets you stay in control. PrizePicks is the daily fantasy sports app that makes watching sports even more exciting by letting you build lineups based on player projections. So there's no drafts, no waiting, just pick more or less on an individual player's stat projection and play your way. The app is super simple to navigate. You just pick more or less on at least two player stats like Caleb Williams' passing yards, DeAndre Swift's rushing yards, or Steph Curry's points. You can combine them across sports if you want to, and if you get your picks right, you'll win with PrizePicks. It's a lot of fun. It's fast. It's quick. It's simple. You can make your lineups in under 60 seconds. Just download the PrizePicks app today and use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks. It's good to be right. You can't leave that performance against the San Francisco 49ers and be upset at the Bears offense. You can be disappointed that Caleb Williams couldn't finish it off with his 7th or whatever game-winning touchdown of the year. But he drove down and put points on the board over and over and over again. And it's hard to be mad at him for not getting one when he gets the other 6 or whatever it was in this game. In terms of drives that ended in points, there were 6 scoring drives for the Bears. 5 touchdowns, 1 field goal, and then 3 punts in this game. No turnovers. They give you 38 points. I guess technically one of those touchdowns was from the defense. Nonetheless, you get the idea. The offense was scoring plenty. They were doing enough. They were not perfect, but we don't expect perfection, and we're not disappointed by being short of perfection. Caleb Williams was accurate, dialed in, and hitting big plays downfield consistently. Like everything you want from them. The running game was working. We can point to things that didn't go well in offense, but we're not blaming this loss on, well, Ben Johnson only handed the ball off 17 times compared to 42 pass attempts for Caleb Williams. Sure, there are things you wish would have or could have or should have done differently, but those aren't the reason why you lost the game. Like this vertical passing game was the only thing keeping the Bears defense in the game. Like in a normal offensive performance, the Bears lose this game 42-21, 42-28. Like this shouldn't have even been a 4-point game at the end of the fourth quarter without such high level play from Caleb Williams. Beautiful deep touchdown to Luther Burden to kind of get things rolling in the passing game late in the first quarter. Like under pressure, flat-footed, drops it in exactly where it needed to be, 35, 40 yards downfield up the seam. And then, later in the second quarter, hard count, gets the defense offsides, finds Colston Loveland open in the end zone, and really an Aaron Rodgers-esque play from Caleb Williams. Like these are advanced plus graded high-level throws from Caleb. And not even all of them were touchdowns. I mean, there was a wheel route down the left sideline to Colston Loveland. There was a corner route to Ja'Day Walker on third down. Like, there were a bunch of really, really nice throws from Caleb. Doesn't mean he was perfect. Heaven forbid, everyone's going to talk about, we're always obsessed with his completion percentage. And, in this game, 25 of 42, that's a 59.5% completion percentage. Oh, shucks. Well, you got you 330 yards, 2 touchdowns, and put 38 points on the board. Or even, you want to say 31 points of offense on the board. Like he had a more than a great game from this team. Did you everything? He underthrew and missed a couple of open throws for sure. That happens every single game. There was 1 or 2 passes that were tipped that could have been potentially dangerous passes, but this was everything you needed from Caleb. Especially when they did start slow, and a lot of times we've seen that. First 2 drives were 3 and outs. I think he was incomplete. I think he is out of his first 4. He was like 1 for 4 on his first 4 passes or something like that. Like we've seen those take a while to get going, but not so much in this game. Like after those first 2 drives, it clicked and they got going and hits Luther Burden on the big touchdown. And then that just blew everything open and the offense was rolling from there. They scored touchdowns in every single quarter of this game. It wasn't 60 minutes of offense, but it was 4 quarters of offense, and that's all you can ask for. 60 minutes would be perfection. You're not going to see offenses be perfect for 60 minutes, but they did more than enough that they needed on that side of the ball. Like when you're in a shootout like this, I get when maybe you get away from the running game a little bit because you just got to go punch for punch, big play for big play. Your defense is giving up big plays. You got to get big plays for your offense and kind of keep them back in this game. And doing all of that while Rome Odunze misses his, fourth game, did they say? Fourth or fifth game with this foot injury right now. He's not out there. DJ Moore is playing, but was questionable with an illness and did not look 100% out there. He hit 4 targets, 1 catch, 7 yards, essentially a non-factor. Maybe a decent decoy at times, but really a non-factor in your offense. So essentially like being without your top 2 wide receivers in this game, and you're relying on rookie wide receiver, 2 rookie wide receivers in Burden and Walker, plus rookie tight end in Colston Loveland, and they absolutely carry you and dominate in this game. Like the offense to be doing it undermanned like this and to still have Caleb throwing so well and playing so well is a big deal and part of what makes this game that much more impressive from the Bears offense. Like, yes, Luther Burden's very clearly a special talent and Colston Loveland very clearly special talents, despite the 2 of them each having a drop on the final drive of the game, but those drops didn't cost the Bears. And so, you can take and accept some of that from rookies, but like this is the kind of stuff that gets you really excited. And we'll talk about that kind of long-term future excitement here in a second there. I think it's also worth acknowledging that part of the reason why Caleb Williams and the offense were able to look so good in this game is that the 49ers are, depending on how you measure it, the worst pass rush in the NFL, or I feel like the Bears might have the worst true 4-man rush in the NFL, but the 49ers are last in the NFL in sacks. And so by that measurement, they're quote-unquote the worst pass rush in the NFL. But much like Brock Purdy had a lot of time, Caleb Williams had a lot of time most of the time in this game, which helped him see the field well, hit open receivers, not rush throws. There was a weird thing in this game, though, that if I had to be like something I'm concerned about a little bit moving forward, when the 49ers would blitz, the Bears seemed to not have answers for it. Like I can think off the top of my head, 3 blitzes in particular. I mean, there were more than 3 that affected Caleb Williams, but I'm pretty sure I remember at least 3 where like Drew Dahlman in particular let somebody go by right up the middle. There were just some weird communication stuff where it's one thing if they're rushing 7 guys and you got 5 blockers, they got 2 guys that are going to be coming free, and there's nothing you can do about it. You don't have the numbers to block them. But there were rushes there where there's 3 guys coming to the middle and 3 guys to block them, and one of them just loops 3, and you got Dahlman and Joe Tooney looking at each other like who was supposed to block that guy, not being on the same page. And like I can live with that, or I can understand that in week 2 or week 3 or week 4, but in week 17, there's no excuse or explanation that like justifies that happening seemingly multiple times over the course of this game. Like for some reason, when the 49ers would blitz, it was super effective and the Bears didn't have answers for it. Whereas when the Bears would blitz, it was super ineffective and the 49ers always had answers for it. So that's like the one area I'm left from this game saying I needed more or better from Ben Johnson's a play caller, but then also maybe, just offensive coaching staff of like, and offensive line, like communicating that stuff properly and making sure that wasn't, so disruptive, because there were a couple times when like the 49ers could just, hey, it's 3rd down, and they just send the house and Caleb's got nothing and he gets out of the pocket and throws it away. And like that was an effective strategy a few different times for the 49ers in this game. We saw it be an effective strategy for the Green Bay Packers last week and really in both Packers games. And if I'm opposing teams, whoever the Bears are going to play in the playoffs, which is probably going to be Green Bay at this point, I'm looking at that as a really viable strategy of, if I just overload blitz Caleb Williams, he's going to throw it away. So like I can just like kind of automatically, like as long as my overload blitz, as long as he can't fully escape it, as long as I don't leave somebody wide open, I can pretty well disrupt what the Bears want to do on offense by just sending the house at him a little bit. So I want to keep an eye on how the Bears work on adjusting to that in games moving forward. But I think in the long term, yes, let me restate that in a moment. Like I think in this game right now, short term sucks. You don't like losing the 49ers. Feels bad to have this back and forth and then a letdown at the end when the Bears don't let you down. Long term, this game has to give you a lot of hope about Caleb Williams, about the offense, about just how critical all the young players were for this team's success in this game. So we'll take a look at like where it's not even silver linings, but where you can find the bright future from the Bears in going toe-to-toe with the 49ers like this. next on Locked On Bears. This episode of Locked On Bears is brought to you by Gusto. Let's be real. No one starts their business for the joys of calculating tax withholdings or managing payroll spreadsheets. But that's where Gusto comes in, to take the stress out of payroll, benefits, and HR so you can focus on actually running your business and supporting your team. Gusto is the all-in-one remote-friendly payroll and HR platform that makes managing your team simple, transparent, and fast. So whether you're hiring, onboarding, or just paying your employees, Gusto helps you do it all from one place without the hassle or hidden fees. Because Gusto gives you unlimited payroll runs for one monthly price, which means no surprise charges at the end of the month. And they've got automated tools like offer letters, onboarding materials, and direct deposits that can save you hours every single week. And plus, you get real peace of mind knowing you can reach certified HR experts at any time. So try Gusto today at gusto.com/lockedonnfl and get 3 months free when you run your first payroll. That's right, 3 months of free payroll at gusto.com/lockedonnfl. That's GUSTO, gusto.com/lockedonnfl. In the short term, obviously losing to the San Francisco 49ers like that sucks. You wanted to see the Bears win, pull it out at the end, get that one more game-winning drive at the comeback to seal it away. You were fighting for the number one overall seed and a potential first-round bye, and you leave the game feeling as bad as you would after any loss. But this is one of those rare losses that can also leave you feeling really positive about the long-term future of the team. That this was the kind of game that really feels like it cemented the positive direction of the franchise and was like the accumulation of and the solidification of everything the Bears have been building towards under Ben Johnson. Like in this game, even in a loss, like young players, first and second year guys, are all of the major catalysts to the success that you did have. And it really confirms like, hey, the stuff you're building right now is not just going to be successful right now, but that it's going to be successful next year and beyond, because the guys who are leading the way are going to be here for a while and play at a high level for a while. These are not veteran mercenaries at the end of their careers, but fresh, new, young players whose best football is still in front of them while they're giving you great football right now. And that's what's so encouraging, even in a losing performance like this, that again, like short term, you're not trying to just pretend everything is fine and that the loss doesn't matter. But boy, it really paints a bright future here. When, Luther Burden puts up 8 catches for 138 yards and a touchdown. Like this is the launching pad type game. Not the welcome to the NFL, but like the introducing himself to the NFL type moment for Luther Burden. The hey, prime time, nations watching you against potentially a number one seed in the NFC or a playoff caliber team in prime time, and you go off for the biggest game of your career so far. Like that's the kind of thing that everyone is going to notice. And we'll look back and say Luther Burden has arrived with a game like this. Like we've seen it throughout the course of the season. We've seen flashes of it. We've even seen, big individual Luther Burden games. It's not like it was not news to us watching Luther Burden. I mean, he had 100 yards against the Cowboys in week 3. But to really kind of cement it as in this game, he was the top option, he was the go-to option, and he was making plays in every single way, right? This was not just speedster burner works down the sideline and you throw him bombs all game and he catches 3 bombs and has a huge game. It's no, he caught the bomb up the seam vertically, but he also had maybe the most impressive play of his in the game was a 5-yard out route in the fourth quarter on 3rd and long that he catches well short of the first down marker, slams on the brakes, then turns on the jets, smokes the cornerback after the catch, and gets a first down on a play that he had no business getting past the sticks. He's the only player on the Bears that can stop and start that fast and convert that play into a first down, at least that way. Like, sure, maybe a tight end or whoever can run over a guy, but to just stop on a dime and then flip it on and run past him for a first down is like so physically impressive that there are just not that many players that can create yards after catch like that for themselves. So he can win deep, he can win underneath, he can win after the catch, he can win with his route, he can win with his route running, he can win with his speed. Like, he's just everything you need. Yeah, he drops a pass down the stretch in the fourth quarter. The Bears overcame that. It's fine. Like, this was a Luther Burden game that he goes from someone who, earlier in the season we're like, oh yeah, he's going to be a player for sure on this team, to, oh yeah, he could be a number 1 or number 2 wide receiver on this team next year. He looks like a number 1 or number 2 receiver on this team right now. Like, we go from maybe DJ Moore could be expendable to, yeah, they don't need DJ Moore. Luther Burden can do that. Like, when Odunze and Burden are both healthy, they're fine without DJ Moore. Probably a separate conversation. I still doesn't mean you have to go trade DJ Moore. Like, keep good wide receivers on your team. Have too many rather than not enough. But the point being, like, you're good. Burden is a number 1 or number 2 wide receiver in the NFL. Like, right now he's not number 1, but you get the idea. Like, he has that kind of talent to be the all-around playmaker. And a game like this really just cements that for all of us. Similar conversation about Colston Loveland. 6 catches, 94 yards, and a touchdown. Nothing that was surprising to us who have watched the Chicago Bears all season. He's had more impressive stat lines against the Bengals. 6 for 118 yards and 2 touchdowns in that game. But like, prime time against a playoff team in a playoff-like environment in a shootout, making the biggest, most clutch plays for this offense on fourth down, curl route over the middle of the field for a first. There was another, I think it was a third down earlier in the game. No, it was another fourth down earlier in the game, slant route from over the middle of the field to move the chains. Like, Caleb Williams trusts his guys and he makes the clutch plays. Then has the big deep touchdown on the hard count free play, the Aaron Rodgers type play from Caleb Williams. He's on the same page with the quarterback. This is a number 1 tight end and a potential future, top 10, top 5 tight end in the NFL type of player that does this and proves it and cements it as like, wow, there's a really bright future for these guys. It cements, again, like Caleb Williams making these kind of plays in these kind of games, prime time against a playoff team. Like, you've got your quarterback. There's no question Caleb Williams is the long-term face of the Chicago Bears franchise. There's a question of like just how high the ceiling gets, like what tier of quarterback he's going to land in, but he's very clearly like never going to be a draft bust at this point. Like, he's good. He's a starting caliber NFL quarterback for sure, an above average starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. And then it's a question of how close to truly elite does he get as his career goes on. I feel very similar about Ben Johnson. Like, no doubt you got the right head coach. Is he going to be Sean McVay, Andy Reid? We don't know, but you got the right head coach. Like, he's got this baseline level of boom. And these are all things we've known, but it just really kind of just sits when it all happens at the same time against this kind of team on this kind of stage at this stage of the season with these players in particular. And you can throw like Shadé Walker has another important game. It ends up being 2 catches for 30 yards, but like 2 really important catches for this team and someone that Caleb Williams clearly trusts and rely on. We mentioned Austin Booker as well, only finishes with 1 sack, but then 2 pass breakups in there. Had another rush on Purdy that forced an incomplete pass when it hurried up on his throw. It kind of hit him as he was throwing the ball a little bit. Like, impact plays from first and second year guys across the roster. Ozzie Trapillo holding his own, albeit not a great pass rush on the other side there, but still, like, Kyle Monangai continues to have another good game. Like, all these young players are the future of the Chicago Bears, and they're playing really well right now, but also you're going to have them playing at a high level for the next 3-4 plus years. And that's a really encouraging thing. Like, kind of no matter what happens from here, what happens in week 18 against the Lions, whatever happens in the playoffs, like, all these guys are here and they're going to be around and they're going to keep getting better, or at least they're not going to keep getting, they're not going to get worse. So, you've got something pretty special with a lot of these guys, and it's up to Ryan Poles and company to build off of that and give them a pass rush and give them a real defense and, kind of get this team. And that's what it's going to be fun to watch how things play out for the rest of the season. But we got plenty of time to get to the future. We're going to stay focused on the present and enjoying this year right here on the Locked On Bears podcast. So make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts, because that's going to be the best way to keep up with all of our daily in-depth Chicago Bears news and analysis. Thanks for making the Locked On Bears your first listen today. And if you're one of those everydayers that tunes in 5 days a week for Locked On Bears. First of all, thank you so much. Really appreciate you. This is who we do it for. I don't just sit here and talk for myself. I do it for you for tuning in. And if you want to take your daily listening to the next level, you can check out our new Everydayers Club to get access to an ad-free audio feed for Locked On Bears, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major podcasting apps. Plus, the Everydayers Club includes an invite to the members-only Locked On Everydayers Club Discord server, which includes a Locked On Bears Discord group chat just for listeners of this podcast. It's $5 a month or $50 a year if you want to upgrade, but we're always going to be available free and available on all platforms, just with the the regular ad listening. But you can go to lockedonbears.supercast.com if you want to check out the Everydayers Club. Otherwise, just tune in tomorrow. Make Locked On Bears your first listen once again for another opportunity to bear down.